Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Digital Ag Global. I'm your host, Clyde Graham, an agribusiness consultant with Keystown Solutions. I'm coming to you today from Ottawa, Canada, where spring, after a long winter, is finally starting to burst out. I just saw a cardinal this morning, which is a red bird that I don't know if it's common elsewhere, but it's a leading sign of spring for us here in Canada. Today, we're going to be exploring the area of an area that every agritech founder, investor, and I think farmers as well should be thinking about these days. What does it really take to drive adoption of agritech innovations? We have an excellent guest here today, Raphael Jung. He's the co-founder and CEO at Sproot. We'll get Raphael to introduce himself in a couple of minutes. From getting your clients on board to scaling businesses across various markets, we're going to look at the pain points, the strategies, the game-changing insights that can turn great tech into real impact in the field. And before we get started with Raphael, I'm just going to ask, as always, Yurii, Kovalchuk, the CEO and president at Cultivate, to provide us a little bit of his views in this area of high-tech or agritech innovation and adoption.
Sure. Thank you, Clyde. Guys, we are Cultivate. We are a company that helps to build efficient software in agri-food space. And together with Clyde, we are co-hosting this podcast. And we decided to focus on challenges and future of adoption a bit more, because specifically in an AgTech, it's a very crucial, high in discuss matter. We've touched upon this topic a few times before, but today we want to do a better dive deep into the whole idea of what it takes to actually work and sell to farmers and ag businesses, and how to make your product or your service successful in current reality of AgTech innovations. Before we jump to Raphael and his company Sproot, I just want to remind everyone that Digital Ag Global as a podcast offers sponsorship opportunities. So if you're interested in becoming part of our community, have access to the insights, our auditory or our speakers, help us plan new topics and new episodes, feel free to drop us a line. You can do it on LinkedIn. You can go to our website and do so. If you want to help us to promote AgTech and digital ag innovations, just write us and we'll get you sorted. With this said, let's jump to Raphael and hear a bit more about him and his company.
All right. Go ahead, Raphael.
Thanks, Clyde. Yurii, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on this episode. The topic of adoption is very, very fitting. At Sproot, in essence, we digitize contract farming. Contract farming is a widespread pattern across primarily the less developed countries. So we started our journey in Africa, but it's a topic everywhere where you have bigger agri-businesses working with loads of small farmers. And in essence, how this works is that the big agribusiness does seasonal contracts with the small farmers, providing them with inputs, pre-financed inputs, and at the end of the season, a guaranteed offtake and buyback of the produce. So this, as such, has positive effects, especially on the smallholder farmer community. They're more included in the value chains as such, etc. But why especially adoption is such a topic? Of course, we operate in, as I said, less developed countries. So we can't simply assume everybody has a smartphone. We can't simply assume there's mobile reception on each and every farm. You have to picture such a farmer really as a very small one, having half a hectare of land, being somewhere very rural, dirt roads, all that. So it's really a topic that keeps us engaged and busy ourselves.
Well, it's obviously very ambitious, I think, Raphael, to take on a project like this in an area like Africa. I've just finished a 5-year project in Africa, and it was about extension of better management practices for fertilizer over 5 years. And certainly we had success, but there were a lot of challenges as well. Maybe you could talk us a little bit about how you actually got your company and your project underway. Maybe you could share some of your successes and some of the challenges you've faced that might be helpful for our audience.
Yeah, so we're still a pretty young company. In essence, we were not we founded the company not even a year ago. We started properly building out a platform. In essence, we only do IT, so we build a software as a service on cloud. We started to properly build that out in October, November. So we have now launched with our first clients. So the challenge is, I mean, it taps a bit into what also does it mean to be a startup, right? So I mean, the challenge is what do you build, when do you feel you're ready to launch? And I think so far we did a pretty good job in terms of avoiding to overbuild stuff. So we also have an office in Nairobi, so we have feet on the ground. We are very close to the client. So even the MVP that we built out until Feb, we did that in close collaboration with clients, really understanding the needs on the grounds I mean, as I mentioned, it's pretty specific what we do. And we built out the features we have in place now in close collaboration, validating them with our clients and the farmers, etc., to build something meaningful from the outset and then take it from there. Of course, there's some challenges in terms of getting to the bottom of the actual requirements, etc., because not everywhere people are very tech savvy, so the requirement engineering and understanding it has been a challenge. And of course, we see other challenges now in terms of adoption when it comes to smallholder farmers.
Right. And of course, I think you're primarily working with agribusinesses that are then servicing farmers through your technology. Is that the way it really works?
Yeah, so how it really works, in essence, it's the platform has, so to say, two main components. One you can picture like a small ERP system for our actual clients, where they can capture all the farmers they're working with, their farms, the contracts they do with them. And the platform from that perspective also includes farming best practices. So growing schedules for a season that we refine together with our clients. So for example, how to best grow maize in that region, considering the available fertilizers, chemicals in the area. And that then is the link to the second part. We use these schedules to send out instructions on a weekly basis, individually per contract or per farmer, what she or he needs to do on the field in the next week. We do that, and that's an important aspect in terms of adoption. We decided to go for WhatsApp as well as SMS to have some offline capabilities as well, so the farmers don't have to be online all the time. And we have the farmers then report back in a very simple way. On the one hand side, just asking, have you understood the tasks you have received? Do you understand what you have to do on the field? Very simple, also in local languages, actually. So we get really through to the farmers. And then we also ask them to report back in terms of what growth stage the field is in. On the one hand side, we ask them to send in pictures. They can do all that via WhatsApp. We then show that still on the platform. So also the agribusiness, for example, sitting somewhere and the farmer being somewhere very remote, they see from the desk what's going on in the field and have a far better understanding, because at the moment this is mostly pen and paper, Excel at best, and for sure no digitized communication channels.
Right. So what you're really providing are very practical, down to earth, easy to understand solutions for farmers to make their lives easier, more profitable, etc. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, what we've seen in the past, probably all of us, you guys have seen it as well. You've seen many initiatives trying to help these remote communities, smallholder farmers, by, I don't know what, sending some money, sending whatever means of input or irrigation systems they then don't know how to use. So it's just a flash in the pan, and there's no sustainability in that ultimately. So what we achieve with our platform is an increase in the productivity of the smallholder farmer, which means he can or she can sell back more produce to our clients, the actual agribusinesses, by the end of the season. So that's immediately having a positive impact on their income and livelihood then. And for our clients, the agribusinesses, since there's clearly also a food crisis, which will get worse over the next few decades, because Africa has the biggest growth rate in terms of population still over the next 2-3 decades. So our clients, the agribusinesses, easily find powers for the increased amount of produce in the market, in markets, of course, to which the smallholder farmers don't have access. So it's a win-win for the smallholder farmer as well as for our clients, and that's in essence the plan or the game, how it works and why it's so beneficial what we're doing.
Right, and I think the opportunities for growth and profitability in the agri-food sector in Africa are pretty amazing if projects like yours and companies like yours can succeed. Maybe Yurii, you could talk a little bit about your experience about the issues of taking technological solutions and finding ways to make them useful and easy to apply at the field level.
Oh, that's a great question, and I was just about to comment on what Raphael said, how they actually built their MVP, minimum viable product, together with their clients, because it all comes to one simple truth. You need to find, specifically in AgTech, because agriculture in general is very versatile industry. It varies a lot how people farm in Africa, Ukraine, Switzerland, or Canada. How to find the product market fit, and I think that's important questions to answer once you started, and it's important matter to understand in order to have first clients. And what I mean by product market fit, how our solution or how our service helps this specific group of our potential clients to solve some of the challenges or cover some of the needs they have. And what we've seen so far, that a lot of early stage startups, people who are just kind of in the idea stage, they have several mind maps, they have a big idea, we're gonna help farmers grow better yields, we're gonna automate weeding, we're gonna do that and that, but that's a very, I would say, generic approach, and it doesn't necessarily work in AgTech. I have a strong belief that in AgTech you should find a very specific problem and tackle it with a very specific solution that's gonna work. And then once you've proven it for a small group of people, you can scale based on that. And that is something what takes us to product market fit. There are a lot of ways how you can find it. You can do questionnaires, you can do surveys for your potential clients, etc. But I have a feeling that a lot of companies in AgTech space, they talk about something called, like, not even AgTech space, just a startup. All of them talk about total addressable market. Our total addressable market is huge. It means we're going to earn a lot of money. It means we're going to be successful. Let's close the seed round. But for very specific, unique industries like agriculture and AgTech being part of it, I think we should go down a couple of levels. So you have on top, you have this total addressable market, all the potential clients, even if they don't need your product right now. Then you have serviceable addressable market, people who potentially can buy a product. And then you have the third pillar, the smaller pillar called serviceable, obtainable market. And that's where you need to find your first clients, your first adopters, people who have a very specific problem that you help with. And a lot of companies miss on that. They start with a very big idea instead of starting with a small idea and grow. And the example that Raphael mentioned, that they find the very, I would say, narrow use case. We are helping outgrowers to manage their contracts better. And they've built it according to the client's requirements. It's a good example on how to actually start developing an MVP in AgTech.
Right. So I think one thing I'm hearing is the importance of, feedback in the process, that you've got to get some idea of how your product or service is being received by your clients, farmers, or agribusiness, and react to that on an ongoing basis. Raphael, when you look at where you are now, do you have any advice for other people at the startup level in terms of getting their product or service off the ground? And what do you think are some of the pitfalls that they can avoid? I think I love the saying that it's good to learn from experience. It's better to learn from experience of others.
Yeah, not everybody has to make the same mistakes over and over again, right? So, I mean, really, I would really like to top up what you said, Yurii. I mean, you also reflected, Clyde, close interaction with the client. Still, I mean, one of the biggest mistakes many startups make is exactly this space of ideas if you start building something. And I believe, especially in AgTech or agriculture generally, I mean, it's a huge space and you can do so many things. But if you don't narrow it properly down, you will for sure fail. And what we also did on top of the close validation together with our clients in terms of, does this feature add value? Do you see the benefit of this? Why does it really rationalize also the benefit statements and the value assumptions? And I think assumption is a good thing. We're all, I mean, especially as founders, you're fascinated and excited about your ideas and what you can do, but almost always there's the risk of you have some assumptions in your head, right? You have some beliefs in your head, and then you start running in that direction without having made them kind of transparent for yourself only. So what we also did is we really compiled quite a huge list of, and we actually called it assumptions, left, right, and center, a bit more from a tech perspective, from a business model perspective, from a client perspective, in terms of putting our assumptions on which we started on a piece of paper. And then we really quite rigorously started validating them with the clients or with others from all possible angles. And it again helps you to stay realistic to a certain sense, not going after fantasies, stuff like that. And because then you will stay on track much better and keep the focus that you mentioned, Yurii, and it will help you also to narrow your scope and everything from the beginning, lean, mean, and then build out from there in an agile, iterative manner.
So sometimes just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. And I guess the analogy of running, you've got to be careful there isn't a cliff.
Yeah, especially. I mean, as a startup, you don't have endless money or means to do whatever. So it's even more important that with the limited means you have, you do the right thing. Because if you once run in the wrong direction, it's far harder to recover than once you're bigger. Maybe you can allow more mistakes, even though you shouldn't. And there's of course means also not to do it. But especially for startups, it's of utmost importance.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause for a second to remind the audience that we'd certainly like to get your views or questions. If you have any feedback for us during the conference, and we have Raphael here for another half hour or so, so please put your questions or comments into the chat, and we'll have Yurii and Raphael try to address what's on your mind. Because we do like to have this as interactive or as possible. So in the end, pushing products or services out to clients is hard. Where you really want to be is that you've created some demand, and then people are asking to buy or to utilize what you're putting forward. How do you create that pull rather than constantly have to push your product or service out into the market?
Well, I'm gonna be kind of a bit skeptical here. It takes a lot of pushing before you start pulling people in. So it's not enough to have a couple of early adopters, test clients, initial partners to become a success. It's far a longer road to prove your solution, even within a specific market, especially when we're talking about like AgTech, ag innovations. I guess the public that buys those innovations, they're very, what would be the right word? They're very tangible buyers. So they want to feel, touch, understand what they're buying and what is the actual value behind the solution. So for a lot of cases, and I've seen it in a lot of our partners, companies we worked with, specifically like seed stage startups, what they are doing, they are partnering up with local governments, universities, local communities to help them put their client put their product in front of their client. But also, when I say we need tangible results, you need to showcase what are the actual benefits. And in AgTech, it's a lot of the solutions are around precision farming, yield optimization, some sort of forecasting, minimizing water usage, fertilizer, etc. So you need an actual data from the ground that this solution works. And we've seen a lot of organization NGOs starting test farms in the different regions. In Europe, there is this European Information and Technology University, and they have their division called EIT Food, and they started to offer solution what is called test farm. So you can go and test your solution, and then you can go to actual client in Belgium or Switzerland and say, hey, we tested out 100 kilometers from your farm. It actually works. You want to give it a try. Same goes for Canada. We've talked to Emily and Dan Lucier. They do the same thing. I guess Kane Network in Canada also provides some sort of those opportunities. So I guess what I'm trying to say, tangible result that can be showcased, proof that it actually works, gonna help a lot to create this pull effect rather than push effect.
Good. Yeah, Raphael, you want to give a brief additional comment on that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I mean, what we're doing in essence is B2B. And I mean, having spent the biggest part of my life in consulting, leading a more global consulting company, I also know how hard B2B sales is, because very rarely you have clients that just pick up the phone and say, I want to buy from you, or send you an email and tell you you're the best of all. I only want to work with you. So you have to go out, right? The inbound channel usually is very, very tricky to generate traction. In essence, we are now, we of course we're trying to produce a buzz. We're going to fairs, etc., where the right communities and all that. But in essence, thanks to the fact that one of our co-founders lives in Africa, we do a lot of legwork as well, working the network, going to visit prospects, etc., etc. But then I think it's always easier, it's easier when you then really have a product that addresses the pain that they have, and that then helps a lot. And but yeah. Going out B2B, being aware what it means.
Like a lot of air miles, a lot of video calls, and I just on behalf of Cultivate, I just came back a month ago from Canada's Farm Show in Regina, Saskatchewan, and there was everything from software solutions to big iron planting equipment and lots of tractors. So. And
that's where we usually found ourselves as well, amidst all the tractors and all the chemicals and fertilizers, and then here's a software company or platform.
Yeah, not a lot of fertilizer at these shows. Fertilizer is still, and I kind of spent a lot of time in this industry. A lot of it is still, I would sort of say, a bit on the low tech side. So we are getting some comments in the chat. I'll try and paraphrase them a little bit, but we have a question from Irene about the core reasons for that agribusinesses would take on ag tech solutions, I think. And essentially, I think this is kind of a value proposition kind of a question. I know in my experience dealing with ag retail in Canada, I think ag retailers often, the people who are selling solutions or services to farmers, often feel that they're getting a lot of calls from people like you, Raphael, with different ideas and concepts and products. How do you cut through that and ensure people understand your value proposition?
So actually, our clients and prospects understand it very well. So I mean, because everybody in Africa who is in the field of agriculture understands what contract farming is and the challenges it entails, actually. And as mentioned, many we're talking to today, either they still really work pen and paper, so they send out the field officers with Word tables printed out, of course, where they then capture the data and everything on the one hand side. And I mean, some of those work with tens of thousands. The biggest we're working with has close to 200,000 smallholder farmers. So there's clearly an understanding on the ground in Africa that things have to become more digital. So there's this awareness and draw towards digital solutions in general as well. So I mean that's kind of a bit of the space we live in. So already for our clients, having all the farmers in one place, the transparency the platform provides to them, they can better forecast, they can and especially the communication channels with the smallholder farmers, it just doesn't exist. So every time they want to see what's going on the field, they have to go out and send a field officer or at best give a phone call. So it's a real value, and all the prospects and agribusinesses that work with smallholder farmers, they understand immediately. Many tried to build, or some we got to know tried to build something on their own, but of course it's not their core business. There might be a bit of a lack of know-how how to build out an integrated platform, etc., as well. They can just piggyback on us because we are SaaS, right? In that sense, we're also much cheaper ultimately for the individual client than if everybody would build something on their own. So there's also the pricing advantages opposed to other solutions and the benefits that naturally come with moving away from pen and paper, Excel, etc.
Yeah, in terms of developing solutions, sometimes it's good to know what you're really good at and what is your core business, and where are things that you should be procuring. And I think you're talking really kind of about plug and play type solutions. So thanks to Irene Benno for that question. We have another question from Christina Shatiria. And Christina wants to know about artificial intelligence and will AI change the adoption curve in agritech? And maybe Yurii, you want to start with that because I know AI is pretty close to your heart.
It is, and we recently had an episode on AI. We've talked to Tom and Hassan like months ago, and I think we're getting more and more questions, AI-related questions. So, long story short, AI will affect adoption curve, but it will only affect it as a better technology or better tool for a better value proposition of AgTech startups who are selling their SaaS platforms, hardware devices, or whatever the type of innovation it is. Because we should consider AI as a helper, as a tool that will help us achieve better results rather than the magic pill or magic mushroom that's gonna change everything. So what I mean by that, let's say Sproot will integrate the AI agent that will automatically generate personalized tasks for farmers. It's going to be an additional selling point, additional value proposition, but it's not going to change the perception, or it's not going to change the core challenge or the core problem that the platform is helping to handle. So it's very important to utilize new technologies, to stay cutting edge and have the benefit you can get, but it's still gonna take some time for actually people and clients and companies you work with to catch up and start buying your stuff.
Yeah. So where does AI fit in Sproot's strategy, Raphael?
So in essence, there's a few things we intend to do in the future. What we already looked at was more kind of a chat function for the farmers, but we always have to be mindful what our users also are, and also the risk of giving wrong advice, or a chatbot giving, or an AI giving wrong advice. So we abandoned that idea for now. The other is what you said. You were a bit in that direction, because I mean, we collect a lot of data, right? As I mentioned, when we establish a contract, or our clients establish a contract with the farmer, that's based on current best practice. And then we will see how the execution actually went, and also what the outcome was in terms of harvest. So, and with the hundreds of thousands of farmers and different crops will be growing over time, that's a huge amount of data where we will be able, with the help of AI, ultimately figure out how to improve the best farming practices and do that much better. That's one thing. The other thing we want to do is, as mentioned, the farmers send pictures. We intend, once we have collected loads of pictures and have our clients, they tag them. Also, they have the possibility to tag them. We can train an AI system to identify deficiencies or pests, and then automatically trigger the right actions more or less real time. That's another thing we intend to do down the road.
Yeah, obviously.
We clearly see the benefit of AI, especially based on the fact that we will have so much data we want to make use of.
Yeah, and obviously agriculture, almost everything in agriculture is time sensitive in one way or another, whether it's planting, harvesting, dealing with pests, all those things. Tomorrow isn't necessarily the best day to be doing something. So, but I think early in our conversation, Raphael, I think you talked a little bit about some of the limitations, particularly in Africa. But I think, every region of the world has certain limitations related to infrastructure. And I think in the fertilizer industry, we deal a lot with things like ports and railways and roads and all that kind of stuff. But, digital information is essentially a form of logistics. It's just electrons rather than maize. So how do you see some of these limitations, that are profound in Africa, but still exist in other places in terms of creating these digital roadways and data exchange and two-way conversations that are important to success of ag tech? Are we looking at private sector? Are we looking at governments? Or, who's going to be helping, establish the kind of structure that makes this all work?
I think, do you want me to start?
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a good question, Clyde, because infrastructure and connectivity is one of the biggest showstoppers for adoption of AgTech technology. Specifically when we are talking about IoT or smart trucks or something related to connectivity. So there are a lot of technologies that allows you to overcome. Someone said hello. Okay.
Yeah,
that's good. There are a lot of technologies that helps you to overcome connectivity issues. And what I mean by that, for example, you don't have a good cellular connection, then you go and build your own LoRaWAN network that doesn't require any cellular connection. It's based on radio waves. But then you end up in a different, you're ending up with a different challenge. You need to build your own network. So I guess it's a mix of businesses, startups who will come up with new smart ways to bring connectivity into farm and rural areas, but also there is a big opportunity for governmental institutions, for big national telecoms to do so. And I know in Canada that a lot of telecom companies are starting to say to AgTech companies, we have the network, we can provide you with the infrastructure, you can provide your services on top of that. And it's smart way to go about it. But apart from infrastructure, I think there are two other main reasons that are hindering adoption levels. First one, cost of innovation, and second one is clear ROI. How much does it cost to integrate, and what's going to be the actual benefit of new technology, new SaaS that I'm going to use, new precision farming sprayer, or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. Raphael, I think part of the way I view this is that agriculture has to generate the GDP, the profitability, the revenue in order to be attractive to people that are going to provide solutions like you. So it's got to be this virtual circle, as you were talking about earlier, where the money has to be generated from business operations in order to support the technology and the technology infrastructure that makes it all work. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, absolutely. Also in Africa, mobile is considered as being one of the key technologies besides potentially energy, but mobile is really considered by governments, NGOs, everybody. So there's a push and a clear understanding it has to be built out. And keep in mind, many countries in Africa never had a copper net. No, many go still and went directly from no phone to mobile. There's no landline infrastructure. So it's really the means more generally also to build more inclusive societies and countries as such. So mobile is a push. I mean, is it there everywhere yet? No. That's why we chose to go as first channel to WhatsApp. And if somebody doesn't have WhatsApp, it immediately the communication directly goes to SMS kind of things. But everybody has a mobile phone, right? So
And that's
yeah.
That's actually a very good insight for audience. If you guys building an AgTech solution that's gonna be focused on rural areas, developing economies, connectivity might be an issue, and you wanna connect your users between each other or between you, go to already existing technology, utilize SMS, utilize existing chats like WhatsApp to do so, and that's very smart thing to do to leverage existing technology to help farmers or ag businesses adopt a new innovations on top of that.
Yeah.
It's absolute key. I fully agree. And then still things have to be simple enough to be understood, right? So that's the other key.
For sure.
You have to be aware of the literacy and the skills of your users and everybody whom you want to reach. But therefore, I think, and there's also, of course, a trust aspect in that ultimately as well. But talking about adoption, of course, the technical foundations needs to be there, user awareness and benefit, but also trust, because people never use a platform or a tool if they don't trust the thing, so to say.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a foundation of almost all businesses, that element of trust. Contracts are fine, but it's better to, know the person you're dealing with and have confidence that what they're saying they're going to do, they're going to deliver. And I think that is sort of non-artificial intelligence, that sort of natural intelligence. And I don't think that will ever be replaced. So I think we're kind of coming up to the end. I think we warned you, Raphael, that we usually like to get our guests to provide sort of a hot take that they have, some profound idea or some information that you'd like to share with the audience. And this is your time.
Yeah, thanks. I really want to keep it short. I said a few things, especially when it comes to what it takes to ramp something up from ground. Be aware of your own biases, of your own beliefs, what you think, and whether it's okay to build out on that, validate that, talk a lot to clients, really, and start small. And of course, always really keep the user in mind. It has to yield the benefit for them, but always keep in mind, if you start something, build it with scalability in mind, so it really leads to success ultimately.
Yeah. Well,
and especially in AgTech, all the tools that you deliver have to be field proven and worthy, otherwise.
Yeah, if they can't stand a bit of dust and dirt, then they're not going to work very well. Yurii, do you have
digital sense? Also in the digital sense, yes.
Do you have a bit of a hot take this week, or?
For sure, I'm gonna focus on adoption, and I'm not gonna be so positive about my hot take. And what I'm trying to say, I don't believe we will have a spike in AgTech adoption in next 3 to 5 years. I think every company that is working on getting off the ground, build MVP, get first clients, and grow on that should be ready for long hours and a lot of work in order to prove them as a actually valuable company for AgTech or for ag businesses in that sense. And we have a lot of examples where big companies failed in AgTech space. So building something small and grow it, it's a very hard task to do. But with the right mindset, with the right problem, and the right solution for the problem, you can always do that. So let's see how adoption level is going to change. But then I also think it's going to be a very, very slow but steady growth, because that's ultimately the future of agriculture, to become more digital, more connected.
Well, I'm going to suggest that everyone take a look at the Sproot website, sproot.com. Is that right, Raphael? And I think there's probably, by looking at that website, there's some things you can learn for your own endeavors, whether you're in the market for ag tech or you're trying to sell ag tech. But I want to say particularly, I always admire companies that have recognized the opportunity that exists in African agriculture. I think it is horribly underestimated around the world. And, I do think now is a great time to be investing in African agriculture, because I think it is only a matter of time until it takes off. And I think companies like Sproot are very wise to be on the ground floor. So that's my comment. And I think that's it. Raphael, I've really enjoyed the conversation. Terrific. As always, we'll maybe try and have you back sometime in the future, and best of luck in your endeavors. Yurii, great insight from you as always. Did you have some closing comments?
Sure. Guys, thank you for sticking around. We are firmly going to 1 year anniversary, and that's going to happen in August. But before that, stay tuned for our next episode in May. And also, if someone from the audience want to become a part of Digital Ag Global, if you guys have some thoughts, strong opinions you want to share, any suggestions on topics, feel free to let us know, and we'll see what we can do. With that, thank you for watching, and see you again next month.
All right, and special thanks to Irene and Christina in our audience for their questions and comments. Thanks for your that, and we want to fill up our chat for the next room. Everybody's a bit shy, I think, in this podcast, so let's get everybody going for the next one. Raphael, thank you. Yurii, thank you, and
thank you, guys.
We'll see you next month for another episode of Digital Ag Global. Thank you.